chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Come on, make me feel welcome. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your chosen vessel. You desire to abide in the praises of your people. So we lift our hands as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. Welcome into this place. Welcome into your joy. as we lift our hearts, as we offer up this praise unto your name. We have come together this great greetings from the messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Break Belief Ministries as we've gathered here to commemorate and celebrate a time of rest. We do appreciate Abba Yahuwah for the rest that he gave unto us the last Layla all the way up into this Yom. We appreciate him for that, what he's doing, what he's done. We want to say once again, welcome to our Shabbat class on this Yom. And we're going to begin with the Baruch of the Torah. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Now we will have the reading of the Ten Commandments done by Mattathias. And it is so.
And it is so.
Leviticus 5, verses 6 to 22. Aleph, I am Yahuwah your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. Bet you shall have no other power before me. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the hours upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that are hot me and keep my commandments. Gimel, you shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and enters it. Dalet, guard the 7 days to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do you, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle. Know your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore, Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Okay? Even as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. 1, you shall not murder. 10, neither shall you commit adultery. Ket, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's issue, neither shall you cover your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words Yahuwah spoken to all your assembly in the mount, out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. Leviticus chapter 6, verses 1 through 18. These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you're going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the days or all the yamim of your life, and that your yamim may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Verse 4, Shema Yasharal, Yahuwah is our power, Yahuwah is Akkad. Hear, O Yah, our supreme one, Yahuwah is Akkad. And you shall ahab Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this yom shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall to what?
To bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind, to give access. Give the Torah access to your mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give you great cities which you did not build, great things which you filled not, wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power, and serve him, and shall swear by his name will be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not Yahuwah your power as you tempted him and you shall not tempt Yahuwah. You shall not tempt Yahuwah. Say it again. You shall not tempt Yahuwah.
You shall.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We need to watch our actions. You shall diligently, verse 17, you shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah your power has given unto you. And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us have another song, please.
Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like this, clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like this, clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like this, clap. Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Sing like this, sing. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Sing like this, sing. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Sing like this, sing. Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. 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 Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. 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 Dance like you can. Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like they clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like they clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like they clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like they clap. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Clap like they clap. Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you. 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 Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they praise. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they praise. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they praise. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they praise. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Ain't nobody mad but the devil. Pray like they praise. Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you. 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 Oh, Yahuwah, we praise you.
You're worthy. We are hungry for yet another opportunity to be in your presence, to sing praises to you, and to acknowledge you, and to show forth our commitment to the covenant by keeping your Sabbath, keeping it pure, keeping it set apart.
Yes.
We do a hobby. We do appreciate you. We do a hobby so very much. And we do todah you for that what you're doing, that what you've done, and that what you're yet going to do for us, your people. As we stand in audience of you, as we stand in attendance, as we stand before you this great young, we ask that you breathe on us. We ask, Abba Yahuwah, that you immerse us afresh in your anointing and in your instructions. As we stand before you, needing you, not just needing you, but wanting and desiring you. We todah you, Abba Yahuwah, for the fresh breath, for the fresh you bring our way. We todah you, Abba Yahuwah. We todah Rabbi you. Truly, 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 you are worthy of all praise and all esteem. If we had 10,000 tongues, we still yet could not praise you enough. But what we have, we will do our best to give you our everything because you are worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy to the going down of the sun, to the rising of the same. Hallelujah, you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. You're worthy, you're worthy, that's spontaneous. Because when we think of the greatness of our Yahuwah and all that he's done for us, your very ruah cry out, our Yahuwah, I told you for saving me, delivering me, and bringing me into your truth. Allah Yahuwah, we praise you, we praise you, we praise you. He's worthy, he's worthy, he's worthy. It's not a rehearsed praise, it's not a script. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth should always speak.
Sorry.
And our heart should always be willing and desiring or desirous to give him praise because of that what he's done and that what he's yet going to do. I appreciate him for all that he's doing. I want to share this testimony. I was thinking about it on this Yom, and we're going to go into Yahush chapter 1, verse 7 and 8. But I began to think on this Yom, the greatness of Abba Yahuwah, and how he is a healer and how he is a deliverer. And I think about how we at times in walking in truth, that we don't give him the praise that we should.
Sorry.
It's the truth. We don't give him the praise that we should. We give him that little passive praise, a little passive hand, clap, like he's deaf or like he's nervous. But when I began to think about the things that he's brought us through, and I began to think about each one of the lives of my children, and anybody that is getting to know me, know that I truly do help my children with everything in me, every last one of them, all 9 of them. I help them to the utmost. And I began to think about not long ago, just months ago, we experienced a situation that had all of us shaken, but we couldn't lose our belief, and we couldn't let the enemy get the best of us.
Sorry.
And I remember seeing my baby girl laying on the floor. We had just come in from from Sabbath shopping, getting ready to prepare for the Shabbat. And I got the phone call, you need to hurry up and get in. Because we call her Ella, but her name is not Ella, her name is Yasmin. And I got the call while I was in line paying for all the stuff. And said, you need to get in, you need to hurry up and get back because she has passed out. So in my mind, I'm in the line and I'm saying, I can't panic, I gotta do what I gotta do. I can't panic on the road because I can't afford to get pulled over. I can't afford to panic. I gotta maintain my composure. So I get in and it's like coming into an office and bumblebees just all over the place. But it was the calmest place considering the situation that I had stepped in. And her third oldest brother was walking, and they were giving her water, and everybody was doing what they're supposed to do. Her big sister was making sure that everything was straight, and on the phone talking to other herbalists, because this is what we are. We are studying and praying, not just studying, but also praying to be herbalists. And when I looked and to keep from getting emotional, I had to pull it in. And I had to remember that Yahuwah didn't wake me up for this.
That's right.
In other words, he didn't wake me up for me to experience tragedy.
God.
And so while she was there, and I bent down and I reached to touch her, and her hands were ice cold. And they had started drawing in. You have to understand, when people their body starts drawing in, as my Ish told me, he said the body is going to always try to keep the core warm if it has to pull blood and heat from other places. So as I got bent down to touch her, and she was saying it hurt, and I began to see a tear fall from her face, that's when I looked at the rest of my children and I realized I got to do something. So at that point, the first thing I started to do was rush her to the hospital. So my son picked her up and he took her and he put her in the car. When I got to the top of the step, we have 3 steps where we are at the ministry. When I got to the step, I know without a shadow of a doubt, the voice I heard, the first voice was my own voice. Then the next voice I heard was Yahuwah's voice. Because I had to remember that if I take her to the hospital, I already know what they're going to do. They're going to stick her, they're going to poke her, they're going to give her all kinds of medication because it's a practice. They're going to do all kinds of things, and I'm not ready for them to do her like this, and I'm not ready to go to jail behind them doing something to my daughter. So I had to stop and I had to pull it in, and I had to remember that we serve a Savior that's a healer.
That's right.
Yes, he is. He is a healer. So by the time he put her in the car, I remembered. I said, no, I know the power of prayer. I know prayer works. And I went and I got my Talit. Now understand, there is no power in the Talit, but I use it as a means of a belief contact and to keep her warm. So by the time we got in the car and she was in the back seat, I began to rub on her hands and I began to tell her, now you got to decree and you got to declare healing, because I can't do it by myself. You got to do it too. This is something I can pray and I can speak the word over you, but you got to believe it. And we began to pray and we began to accept that thing. And her hands began to move. The color of her skin began to change. And she was able to get into her where she needed to get into her so it could do what it was supposed to do. Let me tell you something. We cannot fight against ourselves. How do we fight against ourselves when we don't walk in belief?
That's right.
When we don't walk in belief. And I walked away and I stood there and I began to praise Abba Yahuwah, because I said, I know you are a healer. I know you are a healer. And I don't have to take my daughter to the hospital and go through all these changes with these doctors that are just practitioners. They're practice. That's what they do, practice.
That's right.
That's why it is called a practice. And I thought about that on this great Shabbat. I thought about how he's a miracle worker. I thought about how he's a healer. I thought about that if we did nothing but on this young, but praise him, guess what? He's do it.
Yes.
Because he didn't allow what could have happened if we would have panicked.
That's right. That's right.
If we would have panicked and went running all over the place. We were on the phone. We gave her, we were able to get certain things, got her some L-arginine to get into her to help her be able to breathe. Let me tell you something. Where there is a will, there's always going to be a way.
That's right.
Especially when it is birthed out of the will and the divine purpose of Abba Yahuwah.
That's right.
He's worthy of all of our praise.
Yes, he is.
Because you got to understand something. She has a very unique life. She was born not breathing. She's my miracle baby. She's my miracle baby. So to see her like that, I had to pull it in and I had to pull it together. But I know Yahuwah is a healer. I know he's a deliverer. So for those of you that are standing in need of healing, that's standing in need of a miracle from Yahuwah, believe it.
That's right.
His word doesn't lie, and his word will not return void unto him. He sent it forth for us. He's a healer physically, mentally, socially, economically, spiritually. He's a healer.
Yes.
And we need to praise him for his healing power and his healing virtue. My testimony, he is a healer. He is a protector. He is a guide. He is our instructor. He is our power. And when you can't lean and depend on nobody else, you can lean and depend on him.
Yes.
Yes, you can.
That's right.
I can depend on him because he won't leave me. He ain't never failed me.
That's right.
And he'll never fail you.
That's right.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Come on, praise him. You're worthy, worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. We're going to go into our confession, but I want us to sing a song before how great thou art. Let's praise him.
How great is Yahuwah? Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah? All will see how great is Yahuwah. Come on, sing with me, how great is Yahuwah? Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah? All will see how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will see how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how
You're the name above all names. You are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing our praise. Is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing our praise. Is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. All will sing, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Great is your compassion. Great is your commitment to us, your people. And we do praise you. We do adore you. We do adore you. We appreciate him. I appreciate him. I appreciate him for life. I appreciate him for strength. I appreciate him for who he is. Yes. And for revealing himself unto us as his people who he is. He's a healer. He's a deliverer. Yes, he is. He's our confidant. He is our way maker. Yes. He is that and so much more. Yes. So we do appreciate him. It doesn't hurt to testify. And you may say, but I don't have anybody. Yes, you do. You can testify to yourself.
Sorry.
Yes. You have to testify to yourself. You have to testify to the winds. You have to testify. Testify to the winds. Testify to yourself. Testify to the Malak. Testify to the Shemayim. Testify to the Arab. Testify that Yahuwah is great. And there is none beside him. And there is none that can compare to him. And it is so.
And it is so.
He's worthy. Yes, he is. He's worthy. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Worthy of all our praise. Worthy, 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 worthy. Come on, praise him. Son of Nun, chapter 1, verses 7. And we're going to recite verse 8. Only be strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. Verse 8, as I have tailored it to fit our time of confession, let us confess this together. I will not let this scroll of the Torah.
I will not let this scroll of the Torah
depart out of my mouth.
Depart out of my mouth.
But I shall meditate in it.
But I shall meditate in it.
Yom and Layla.
Yom and Layla.
That I may observe to do.
That I may observe to do.
According to all that is written in it.
According to all that is written in it.
For then I shall make my way prosperous.
For then I shall make my way prosperous.
And act wisely.
And act wisely.
And act wisely.
And act wisely.
Now look at your neighbor, tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Take your hand and place it over your heart And say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Abba Yahuwah,
Abba
I
Yahuwah,
shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. I am
And it is so.
determined to be wise and to act wisely. I am determined. And I will let nothing deter me from that determination. And it is so.
And it is so.
Mishlei 15:8, the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination, hateful, and exceedingly offensive unto you, Abba Yahuwah. But the prayer of the upright, it is your delight. Excuse me. Ayah 33:4, the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. Micah 3:8, but truly I am full of power by the Ruach Kodesh of Yahuwah, and of judgment and of might, to declare unto Yaakov his transgression, and to Yasharal his sin. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 1:1, Baruch is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the instructions of Abba Yahuwah, and he doth meditate upon it, and it is so.
And it is so.
Ibram 11:6, for without belief it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Yahuwah must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 34:15, the eyes of Yahuwah are upon the upright, and his ears are open unto our cry. Verse 17, the upright cry, and Yahuwah heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Somebody say, he is a strong deliverer.
He is a strong deliverer.
Yes, he is.
Right.
Masa 1:8, but truly I am full of power. But ye shall receive power. After that, the Ruach Kodesh has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto him both in Jerusalem and all Judea, and Shamara, and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so.
We are full of power, his power. And it is so.
And it is so.
Tehillim 51:15, O Yahuwah, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. And it is so.
And it is so.
Yehukanan Aleph 5:3 to 15. For this is the Ahal for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not difficult, because everyone having been begotten of Yahuwah overcomes the world, and this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief. Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahush is the son of Yahuwah? This is the one that came by water and blood, Yahush Mashiach, not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Because there are three who bear witness, the Ruach and the water and the blood, and the three are in agreement. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater, because this is the witness of Yahuwah which he has witnessed concerning his son. The one who believes in the Son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar, because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us eternal life. And this life is in his son. Somebody say the life is in the son.
The life is in the Son.
He who possesses the Son possesses life. He who does not possess the Son of Yahuwah does not possess life. I have written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting life, and so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We don't have to struggle with it. If you know you possess the Son and he possesses you, and you are living right, we can ask. And it shall be given. Why? Because we ask according to his desire. What is his desire? That we walk upright and that we adhere and uphold his commandments.
That's right.
His statutes and his judgments throughout our generation, and teach them to our children, so that our children will teach their children and their children's children. However long the Abba allows the generations to continue to flourish is how long we continue to teach and promote his instructions. And it is so.
And it is so.
And not just teach them, but understand this. You got to ahab it too.
That's right.
You have to ahab his instructions for your life. You can't just say, I'm a believer and live by it. We have too many people out there now. That's why when we come into this walk, the first thing we have to do is repent and turn from our wicked ways.
That's right.
Because if you were not living and serving him according to Torah, you were wicked. I was wicked.
That's right.
But then when I repented, I turned from that wicked way of life. I'm no longer wicked. Now I'm upright. Now I have to live as an upright believer. And so it is important that we do these things. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. At this time, we're going to do our affirmation, and then from our affirmation, our declaration, and then we are going to pray the prayer of agreement and seal our prayers and our praise and worship before Abba Yahuwah this young. And it is so.
And it is so.
Repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature.
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
That life is the Torah of Yasharal.
That life is the Torah of Yasharal.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
I purpose to walk in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahuwah's Torah.
Yahush.
Yahush
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab.
Yahuwah's ahab
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power.
Yahuwah's power
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach Hodesh
The Ruach Kodesh
of Yahuwah
of Yahuwah
in me is leading me.
in me is leading me.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I'll walk in the Torah.
Yahush.
Yahush
Our Mashiach.
al-Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Our declaration of healing and shalom. Also our prayer. Repeat with me, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush
our Mashiach.
al-Mashiach.
We subdue ignorance
We subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people, Yasharal.
Yasharal.
We unite,
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
I decree a time of rest, shalom, and truth in Yahuwah through Yahush al-Mashiach. And it is so.
And it is so.
Let us bow before our King as we go before him to recite this. And it is so.
And it is so.
Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 14. And it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in his presence. We do appreciate the Abba once again for allowing us this opportunity to make history with him and to begin a fresh new look, a fresh new start. The Shabbat starts us or prepares us for the Yamim to come, and the Yamim that we will face, and the Yamims to come. It is imperative and it is important that we get out of this Yom everything we can get out of it. Above all, rest.
Right.
Somebody say rest.
Rest.
It is a time that we rest from all our labors. It is a time that we rest from mental anguish, mental labor, physical labor, economical labor. We rest from labor.
That's right.
And somebody say, but when you're studying, isn't that labor? That's a different type of labor. The only energy that is exerted there is your belief. And if your belief is not exerting any energy, then something's wrong. Because belief is action. And so we believe, and because we believe, there is going to be a manifestation or a tangibility to our belief. And so we believe Abba Yahweh. We believe that he has brought us to this place for such a time as this. We believe that he just didn't bring us here for naught, but he has brought us here for a purpose. And that purpose is to learn of him and to know about him. Remember, he told us to take his yoke upon him and learn of him. He said, my yoke is easy and my burdens are light. So we are learning about him. We are learning what was denied us generations and generations ago. Many of us that were in Christianity were denied the truth. Many of us that were out there doing other things, we were denied this truth. And so now we have the opportunity to have this truth. It is only right that we spend that quality time in learning and knowing. And the thing that I appreciate and I harbor him so much is that he allows us to do it together, giving us a means and the internet to where at one time we couldn't connect like this. You were in one state or city, even other countries, but he's given us the ability and given us the opportunity and even the door to be able to connect with people in other places, people over in Biafra, people over in England, people over in France, wherever you may be. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You could be a state away or a couple of states away. Those that are in Louisiana, those that are in North Carolina, those that are in South Carolina, those that are in Washington, D.C., those that are in Florida, wherever you may be, California. He's allowed us to be able to connect via internet.
Yes.
And so we're going to take that opportunity to learn and to grow together so that we're able to show the world that we know who we are.
That's right.
And it may be that we are states away, but always remember you're just a state away, but you're always closer to us because you're in our hearts.
That's right. That's right.
And I pray that we're in your hearts
Yes.
because we are mishpachot. And so it's important that we understand why he's given us this opportunity. Let's take it and let's run with it and let's grow and let's learn to be stronger, faster. Anybody ever saw, this is when I was a little girl, and so probably some of you have never seen it, what was it, the $6 million man? Was it $6 million or $1 million man?
I think it's $1 million.
Yeah, the $1 million man, where he got in an accident and they rebuilt him. They said he'll be stronger, he'll be faster, he'll be better. Well, you have to understand the Torah makes us stronger, makes us faster, makes us better.
That's right.
Because you have to understand we were really not operating in our full potential when we were outside of truth, but now we're in truth. What holds us back
Right. Right.
is the lack of understanding and the lack of knowing who we are. Now we have the ability to tap in to what is ours so that we can truly manifest our full potential. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. And I appreciate you for sticking with us. You know, some people like the dessert. You know, we put the dessert out there first, and then we come for the meat. We come for the dinner. The singing is the dessert. It's what helps. You know, it's the appetizer. But we want to get to the meat. We want to eat, and we want to make sure that we are fortifying ourselves.
That's right.
And so once again, I appreciate you for sticking with us and not quitting us and walking through with us as we continue to learn as a mishpachot. We want to turn our attention once again. Let's turn our attention back to chapter 19 in the book of Bereshit, which is Genesis. And we're looking at this Shabbat. The theme is, and he appeared. And he appeared. And so we want to go back into that. We learn powerful things. I believe it's important that we are able to bridge the gap between times so that we can truly be able to see what we are supposed to get out of it in our time.
Right.
And not just read and say, well, this is what they did and this is how they were able to come through and they did that. No, we need to be able to look and say, okay, they did it, but what do we do? How do I apply their lifestyle and the principles that he gave to them to mine? Everything we don't apply, but there are some things that are important that we do apply.
Right.
Are you following me?
Right.
Everybody can't apply the situation with Abraham and Sarah being 190 something years old and bringing forth a child. That is not for everybody, but we can still learn a valuable principle behind it, and that is belief. To believe him even when circumstances dictate to us something contrary and different.
Yes.
We still have to believe. We have to hope against hope, knowing that he's able to do all things but what?
Fail.
Say it again.
Fail.
Say it again.
Fail.
He can't fail. Because if he says it, it's got to come to pass. Everything has to obey what he says. So there's no way he can fail, or we can fail in him if we walk upright before him. So it's important that we understand. We're going to begin at chapter 19. We have 22 to chapter 22 and verse 24. Once again, I always like to let people know I don't cut corners. I don't skim. I don't do. Comedians get up and they're up for hours at a time and do their thing, and people pay to see them do what they do. Don't ask for money for paying or anything. I come and I let Yahuwah have his way, and I believe that in order for you to get the full benefits, you need to eat the whole roll.
That's right.
I need to give you all of it. I don't need to give you a verse and then we move on, or and I paraphrase it. No, you need to hear it. There are some things that I will say, okay, I'll paraphrase, but then there are others. Everything in the writings, I will tell you, I will read it.
That's right.
Because you need to have it all.
Yes.
Once again, one of the things I was meditating on with the testimony and just thinking about how there are many things that we have to unlearn in order to learn the right way. We cannot still have the Christian mentality and be in truth, because it's going to diametrically oppose one another. It's like oil and water. It'll never mix. It's like trying to put mercury in water. It'll never mix. And so the problem comes in is when we're still trying to look at the writings and look at the truth from a Christian perspective, or still use Christian tools. Anybody's familiar with crafting Minecraft, and we are a mishpachol that are Hobbs crafting. I had stopped doing it, but my ish is one who just a Hobbs in it. So we sit and we get on there together on our 42-inch? Our 42-inch, and we go and we have a house and we have our garden and our ranch, and it's fun, every now and then I have to put the sniper rifle down and do, get in the garden. You got to put the shotgun down and get in the garden and do a little gardening. So, but the thing that is so amazing is that in that when you are building, there are certain tools that you have to graduate to. Now, when you first get on there, until you're able to find ore, the iron ore, and you're able to get the gold and even the cement, not cement, but it's cobblestone. Thank you. You have to use tools. Wood can do some things, but it's better to have a harder material when you're cutting and when you're digging, because it won't break as fast. So these are things when we look at the writings that we have to have. It is important that we build and we have the right material to build a sturdy, steady foundation. And so it is important that we do these things, because without a sturdy, solid foundation, we won't be able to last. But you have to understand, you can't have that same mindset as we once had when we were in Christianity or wherever you may have been. And when we come into this world, one of the things that I have learned, just as a baby knows or desires milk, it is for us when we first come in to desire milk. Many people get in and the first thing they want to do is become a teacher. And you first of all have to get the milk. Let me tell you something, the milk is strong too.
That's right.
If you're not careful, milk will strangle you. Try to drink water and breathe. You'll learn you're not a fish.
That's right.
But milk can strangle you if you are not taking it in the right manner. So it's important that we learn, and the stages that he has us learning in, not to despise those. Don't despise small beginnings. Don't despise your first steps. It is important that we understand that, because when we do that, we miss many things. We miss great things. Are you following me?
Yes.
We miss the true bonding with Abba Yahuwah. We bond throughout our life, but the first steps of your beginning are the crucial steps of your foundation and your belief.
That's right.
And when we miss those, it makes our way of life a little rocky, because then you got to tear up and come back and rebuild. We can't do that. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Once again, I use the analogy using Minecraft. When you're building and you digging and you got down to the bottom and your stuff break. Now you got to go and get another tool you have something that's sturdy, you don't have to worry about that. You just keep on digging and do what you have to do. And it is so. And it is so. So once again, here it is. We are examining and looking at the life of Abraham and Sarah and looking at their beginnings. Now we're looking at as they move forward. And now we've seen in the chapters preceding that is that we see many different things. We see changes that have taken place. We see where the Malak have visited, but before that, we see where Abraham is circumcised. Now you have to understand, 100-year-old man being circumcised. Nowadays, when children get circumcised, and see, you can't get anesthesia. Men can't get anesthesia when they're being circumcised. They have to stay awake. So to have the foreskin, and men that understand this can identify with that pain. I can't because I'm not a man. But men that understand that type of pain, understand that that's something that takes weeks, sometimes months, depending on your age. That's why when they are, it is best medically to be circumcised, to have a young man or a young boy, baby boy circumcised 8 days after he's been out of the womb. And so it's important, even they cry, but it's better for them to deal with it. But a grown man and a man well beyond his age, you have to understand what that takes out of him. And so it's important to understand that. But we're seeing these things unfold before our eyes. We're seeing the miracle power of Yahuwah, and we're also seeing his commitment to his people to follow through. We also are seeing that Abba Yahuwah is a judge, and he's going to judge the wicked. But we also, again, he is fair and he is just.
That's right.
And so it is important that we look at him as being that way. We see a lot of things, and we're getting ready to go into chapter 19, but I do want to say this. Many times I get attachments. Some attachments I do look at, and some I do comment on, and then there's some that I don't. And the reason I don't is because there are some things that we need not continue to perpetuate. We need not. We know that killing is rampant. We know that our young men, and when I say our young men, I'm talking about the young men of our community, the young men of our culture are dying. They're dying. But we also know why they are dying. It is not like we are oblivious to this and that we are ignorant concerning this. And I'm saying this not to be insensitive, and neither am I saying it to anger anybody, but I am saying it. Instead of pushing that, we need to push a greater awareness of why it is important to be awake.
That's right.
Me seeing somebody being gunned down does not help me. That just makes me angrier, and it makes me to the point where I'm like, okay, there's nothing I can do but pray, because what do you want me to do? And for me to continue to pass it on, it's not going to help anything. The thing we have to do is remember what Yahuwah told us to do.
That's right. Follow
in his instructions. We know this is part of the curse. So we need to do better.
Yes.
We do. We need to be better examples. We need to do better. We need to start pushing and promoting more of the teachings of truth.
That's right.
Make that go viral.
Yes.
Make people see us unified. Make that go viral.
That's right.
Make that go viral. Make people be able to see and hear truth. Make that go viral. But me seeing a European cop talk about my people and shoot them down, that does not help me. And to make it go viral does what? Nothing. So I'm saying this for this reason, y'all. We got to do better.
That's right.
And I know all of us mean well. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
But this is something that goes across the board. I'm not talking about no one or two people in particular. I'm just talking about when we send these types of attachments. It is important that we, before we do this, we think about what we're doing. And by me sending this attachment, what is it going to change, if anything? Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. Once again, we are about the truth, and we know why it's happening. It's it's heartbreaking to see these things happen. But once again, our people have to come on in truth. We have to come in, because I can't be a voice for a person that's out of truth. I can only be that voice for those that are standing in and doing right. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
That's important. I can be a witness and be an instrument to bring them in, but I can't be an advocate for them if they're not walking in truth. Because now I'm gonna come against who? Yahuwah.
That's right.
Because he's the one that gives life. He's the one that gives it, and he's the one that allows it to be taken away. So it's important that we understand that. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right, very important. All right, chapter 19, and we're going to begin at verse 1, and we're going to read 8 verses, and it is so.
Now the two angels came to Sidon in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate, of Sidon. And when Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, "Hear now, my masters, please turn into your servant's bed and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way." And they said, "No, but we will spend the night in the open square." But he insisted strongly that they turn unto him. And they entered his bed, and he made them a feast and baked chametz lechem, and they ate. Now before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sedom, both old and young, the people and all people from every quarter, surrounded the bed. And they called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may know them carnally." So Lot went to them through the doorway and shut the door behind him. And he said, "Please, my brethren, do not do so wickedly. See now, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof." And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's look at that's just one of the things that make you just say, what kind of offer? But anyway, and the 2 angels, they had previously called men. When the divine presence was with them, they are described as men. Alternatively, Malach. Frequently visited Abraham as they were no novelty to him. They were simply referred to as men. But as they were rare in Lot's house, they are now given their title of Malach. You've got to understand why they were there. Now, at even. Now, let me show you something that's important to also look at. Lot was at the gate, which I was sitting at the gateway. Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. Lot's presence at the gate is neither casual nor incidental. At the gate, formal activities took place. Public decisions were made, cases heard, business transacted, and visitors proceeded or registered according to the conventions of the city. Lot's presence in the gate is undoubtedly related to some of the activities. Now, we have no reason to believe that Lot is alone in the gate, yet he is the one who interacts with the messengers. Perhaps security in the city has been heightened in the aftermath of the invasion in Bereshit 14, when they came in and invaded and took everything and everybody out of the city. So that they are on the watch for the infiltration of spies who were spying out the city. The spies, also when you look at for references, the spies who go to Jericho in Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 2. In the view, Lot's intentions in taking the visitors is not only fulfills the obligations of hospitality, but also places them under guard. In other words, he recognized who they were. And he knew that and took it on to be his responsibility to make sure, watch this, that they were not contaminated. To make sure that they would not or could not be contaminated. So as we see this once again, it paints a bigger picture for us, and not just seeing him sitting at the gate, but it shows a lot of things are taking place at this time. You got all kind of activities taking place. You got money being exchanged. You got people from all over the place coming in. But they called his eye. Why? Because you have to understand, he stood with Abraham for a great season. So he understood and could recognize the presence of the divine, of the Malak. Are you following me?
Yes.
He could acknowledge, he could be able to discern that. How can we, and what is it that we can draw from this for our time? It is important that the people you rub shoulders with, per se, the people you covenant with, that when you walk away from them or you go in a different place from them, that you still are able to carry some of that which they have with you. You should be able to glean from their lives, and there should be something that you are able to capture from their lives that helps you to live and to do better. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
It's important for that. In other words, there should be an exchange of something as we are walking together and we are in covenant together.
Yeah.
It would be crazy for him to have been with Abraham all that time and yet not walk away with some type of benefits, or walk away with some type of discernment, or walk away with some type of elevation in his life.
That's right.
It's important that when we covenant and once again connect with people, that we're able to pull something from their lives that will help better ours and help us recognize. Now, that ain't saying be a leech.
That's right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
But it ought to be something. And so I would equate this to him learning, because you got to remember, Abraham was one who understood Torah, and he lived in pleasing Abba Yahuwah. And because we can say that the Malak would frequently visit them, he also was a part of that. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important. Like I said, it's important that we keep company with the right people, so that in our time that we may have to go in different directions, we can go away with something that's valuable, that's going to help us in the long run.
That's right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important. All right. And so it's important. And so this is what we need to look at. Now, listen at what it says in verse, let's look at verse 4, and then we'll look at 5. Now, remember in verse 3, he telling them, they tell him, no, but we will spend the night in the open square, but he insisted strongly. So they turned into him and entered in his bed, and he made them a feast and baked kametz lakim. Now, the one thing that is important, which is unleavened bread, and they ate. Now, the reason why I'm persuaded that he impressed upon them is because he knew the people's mentality. He lived there. So, in other words, he was kind of like the security. He was the watchman, and he watched over the city because he knew people that were coming in, what the people of that city were capable of doing at night. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very important for us to look at that. Now, look at verse 4. Now, before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sedom, both old and young, all the people from every square surrounded the bed. Now look at this. It gives you, because you got to look at how they surrounded this house. It's almost like if you are icing a cake. You put the first layer on, then you put another layer, then you get another layer, depending on how thick you want it. The men first of Sedom, old, then the young, and then all the people from every square surrounded the bed. Now you have to understand, the question comes, why were they there? As I said and alluded to last Layla, many times people don't do it themselves, but they indulge and like to see other people do it.
Right.
Now here it is, young men and old men have surrounded this house because they have made it known what they're going to do. But the people of the square had become so familiar with what they would do with men that would come in there that it became a reality show to them. It became just another casual time for them. Oh, y'all, we got new people. In other words, fresh meat is in town. Let's watch what's going to take place. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Well, let's watch. Let's engage in what they're getting ready to do. You have to understand, that's wicked. You're not there to help. You're there to watch. You know how onlookers do?
Yes.
When you can imagine, like how you ever see when the brawls kick up and you see people fighting and you see that first layer or circle of people that's there, they're the instigators. Then you have those on the outside of them. Then you have the ones around them. Those are the ones that are the onlookers. Most of the time, people that will come in and interfere are either the ones of that first layer or that second layer. The people around on that third layer, all they're there to do is record and look.
Right.
All they want to do is see somebody get knocked out.
Right.
Or see somebody get skull drugged. They're not there to intervene or to help.
That's right.
And this is what they were there to do, to watch. Once again, there are things that we are never to indulge in. There are things that we should never desire to see.
That's right.
Never desire to see. And so this is what they were, what was taking place at that time. Now, look, and it says in verse 5, and they called to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came? Now, see, once again, they were watching. They waited till nighttime. They were watching came to you tonight. Bring them out to us that we may know them carnally. They were prepared to rape the men, even the young ones. This is how, once again, you can see how diabolical this had become. Right. They had begun to cause this thing to spread so that even the young men had began to partake in it. And it became an epidemic. The men sexually wanted to assault them a lot because these men were wicked and depraved. They were into sodomy, and that is a sin. That's what they wanted to do. This is why when people say, oh, you know, they cool, they my friend, you know, they not like that. Believe that if you want to. Right. They wait for men to become vulnerable, then they take advantage of them. Because if you ask them their story, they'll tell you what happened to them. Right. And this is why you can't befriend people like that. Women can't befriend lesbians because that's what they do. You got them all over at your house. You know what they're capable of doing. You know what's in their heart. You cannot do that. And this is why Lot pulled them in, because he knew what they were capable of doing. And then you got to remember, Lot didn't want to see him die. He wanted to see him delivered. Right. That's right. They come to the door. That shows you how bold they were. Let them in. Let us in. Lot, no, you push him out. You push them out and let us do what we want with them. That's horrible. Are y'all following me? Yes. Now, and in other words, also it's another rendering that we may vent our lust upon them. Their purpose was to keep strangers away, being anxious to retain all the wealth of the place for themselves. Although they were wicked in many other ways, their doom and their punishment for this selfishness and their refusal to help the poor. So there were so many other things happening. Now you got to understand, that's the second or the third layer of people that's being spoken about. These are the people that come in and watch other people being taken advantage of. Anybody saw Purge? Yes. Yes. We saw all of them. I'm sorry, I'm a fan of Purge. I mean, I don't like to see killing, but I like to see the mentality. The last Purge was the best. Mm-hmm. It was the best because it shows you the beginning. It was the first Purge. But one of the things that was important that I looked and I noticed is that if you notice, the rich people stood up and they were the ones. Well, that's not the first one. That's the second one, ain't it? Not the last one. I like the last one. What is the one where they were in the? That's the second one. The second purge is when the man was going to try to kill the man that the drunk driver that killed his son. That's the second purge, yes, right? Yes. That's the second purge. Now, if you recall, if anybody watched it, and you recall, there was a scene in there where they captured the people and basically put them in the dark. Now, you have the highfalutin people that were up in the glass cage or up in the glass room with all the billions and millions of dollars. They are the onlookers. They're the ones that pay to see this. They won't get their hands dirty, but they'll pay to see somebody else kill somebody. Right. That's what you can look at them as being. Because they didn't want, they instead of helping the less fortunate, they said, let's kill them. Right. Instead of us creating more jobs, or not jobs, giving people an opportunity to have their own business. Right. Give me the opportunity to have my own business. I don't want your job. Because I'm still going to be working for you, and I'm still never going to really be able to have the freedom I want. Right. But giving people the opportunity to have their own business. Instead, they said, well, let's purge. Let's get rid of them. You can understand this is what was going on in Sodom and Amorah. Hey, we got new people. They may be coming in trying to change. So instead of them coming changing us, let's change them before they have the opportunity to change us. And that the mentality, when that mentality is burnt in the essence of a person, the only thing that can be done is they be destroyed. A rabid dog, rabid animals, when they go rabbit, not rabid, rabbit animals, when they have rabies, the only thing that can be done to them when it reaches that point where medicine can't heal them is you have to kill them.
That's right.
You have to kill them because there's no bringing them back. So once again, this is what had happened to them, but Yahuwah was still willing to check it out and see if there was still somebody in there at least worth saving.
Yeah.
Are you following?
Yes.
Now listen what Lot does in verse 8. Now you have to understand, this is really crazy. And see, now I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. They were still virgins. Please let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you wish. Only do nothing to these men, since this is the reason they have come under the shadow of my roof. But you start thinking, you willing to throw your daughters out there. There's something wrong with that. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Now, once again, no matter how people try to twist it, you cannot give a woman to a man that desires another man.
Right.
Because now it is only a matter of time when that man is going to revert to the desire that's in him. He will not be committed. This is why you have so many times, what they call undercover brothers. Undercover brothers are the brothers that will marry a woman, but they know deep down on the inside, they long to be with a man. So in the end, they end up destroying and really breaking the heart of that woman they get with, because she's only used as a front, because she's really not the person that they really want. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And this is what Lot was trying to do. He was trying to make their wrongs right by introducing them to what they should have wanted, but they didn't want. That does not make it right. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Because you're trying to basically make them want something, once again, that's not in them to want.
Right.
Now, he couldn't give over his guests. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
But he's willing to give over the daughters of his home. That still is not right. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand that. Now, while the narrative reveals Lot's hospitality, listen what it says. It also reveals his wickedness. Now, in one verse, or in one rendering, one person calls him wicked. Now, in another rendering, let you see what it says. Lot was allowing his daughters to marry these men, not just be given away for rape. In the East, guests are esteemed above all else and would never be allowed for them to be given over to the enemy. Hence, Lot cannot give the guests to the evil men. This custom of not handing over guests is still practiced by the Muslims all over the world. But once again, the problem comes in is that you're willing to give your daughters to men who don't want women.
Right.
So what do you think they would have done to those women? They would have killed them. Mm-hmm. But you were willing to sacrifice them. Now, once again, we can see the problem with that all day long. That's not how that works. The reason why they came there was to save y'all. Not for you to sacrifice them for that reason. Now, understand what I'm saying. The Malak could handle up themselves. But you were willing to give your daughters up. If anything, you should have been willing to tear everybody up behind your daughters.
Right.
No. But once again, the mindset at that time, are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
We have to be careful with stuff like that. Now it says, stand back, this one fellow, to offer his daughters, they gently answered, stand back. But his attempt to protect his visitors, they met with the furious, this one fellow. So in other words, when the Malak told him, said, stand back. He says, stand back. And so as he told them to stand back, the reason he said for them to stand back is because he was getting ready to do what he had to do to get them off that house. Because do you not know they would have torn that house down with all the people around it? They would have crushed that house in. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Now, all right. Now, let's look at again, it's amazing the mentality of people. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
All right, verse 10. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the bed with them and shut the door. Now, Lot crazy self was standing outside the door trying to reason with these people. You out there trying to reason. Listen. You hear me?
Yes.
He's standing there. Listen, let me tell y'all, I got 2 daughters. And you can imagine the look, you can imagine what they had on, you can imagine how they looking at him, probably all eyes all bloodshot, and you can just see on them the rage and the lust that's on them, and they're standing there and he's trying to reason with these people. And he's trying to tell them, now you have to understand, if they had not come to you about your daughters before this Layla, what makes you think they're going to want them now?
Right.
This is where you have to understand, having a twisted mentality and having an abnormal mentality. That was twisted and abnormal.
Exactly.
And so here it is, the Malak, I can imagine in my mind saying, what is wrong with this man? Why is he out here trying to reason with these people when there is no reasoning with them?
Right.
They have to pull him in. Why? Because the mob began to press upon him. They would eventually have torn down that house. Yeah. They would have eventually took it piece by piece, loose. And look what they did. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the bed with them and shut the door. And they struck the men who were at the doorway of the bed with blindness, both small and great, so that they became weary trying to find the door.
Right.
Anytime they were set on doing what they had purposed their heart and mind to do. Now, mind you, watch this. They had shut the door. So that meant what they did went past the door.
Right.
They didn't know what they had to do. They caused them to be blind. That's the power of Yahuwah. Because nothing can stop him. Nothing is an obstacle to him. And then they feeling around like some fools, still trying to get to the door, and they're blinded. They're blinded. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
This shows you how diabolical and how messed up and how they were. Are you hearing me? Yeah. They were demented. They were determined to do what they were not supposed to do. They could have killed them, but they only caused them to be blinded. Once again, this is a problem. And somebody said, well, how do I correlate or how do I bring this into my time? Once again, you can't deal with people that have a twisted mentality. To the defile, all things are defiled, but to the pure, all things are pure. Now understand, that means if it's pure, it's pure. You can't make what is defiled pure.
That's right.
Because understand what it said, to the pure, all things are pure. All things that pertain to pureness. And everything that is not, are you following me? Yes. That is diabolical. It's an abomination. It's going to be just that. To the defiled, all things that are defiled are defiled. Mm-hmm. There is no altering that. And these men were so determined to do, because you have to remember, this is something that they were accustomed to. You can imagine how many houses they had broken into and snatched people out of there and just did what they wanted and then caused them to be changed. Then not only that, there were probably people that got away and said, y'all, them people are crazy there. You don't want to go to that city. You don't want to go to that place. Right. And if anything, you don't want to be there at night. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
You know, they say that song, they said the freaks come out at night. All over town. And then there were places, even places in Shreveport, when I lived in Shreveport, they called the bottoms. Yes. It was the bottom. Let me tell you something. It was. You had to drive down in the bottoms. But they told you when the lights start getting dark, get your behind from down in the bottoms because any and everything goes down on up in there. And the police didn't even like going down in the bottoms. That's just how bad it was. So I remember playing baseball when I was younger. And we were in the middle of the game. And it started getting twilight. Them lights started. Pack up, y'all. We have to do this another time. Anytime people say, pack up, I'm on first base, and they looking and they like, and we looking at the coaches and the referees and everybody, and they like, they talking among themselves because we came in trucks and cars. You see this? That means pack it up, shut it down. It's time to go. We done been here too long. We had to get out of there.
Right.
Because the area was so rough. It was so bad, and it's still bad from what I heard. Now, once again, this place was the same way. Why am I saying this? Is because there are some places you cannot afford to be caught in.
That's right.
There are some places we just got to let go and leave alone and let Yahuwah do what he's going to do.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line. Many people like going to play. Well, I like going down there to get this. I like going down there to get that. You better leave that place alone. Are you following me? Because while you liking to go get that stuff, that means you liking the atmosphere. And if you like the atmosphere, that means you like what's going on there.
That's right.
And especially if it opposes the things of our Yahuwah. Once again, it's important that we understand he blinded them. The Malak blinded them. And because they became weary, it wasn't until they got weary doing what? Trying to find the door that they let up. They were still trying to find it even while they were blinded. But bumping into each other and probably, is this the door? No, fool, this me. Was the door over here? No, fool, this not the door. Well, we can't find it. Now, mind you, now watch this. The question is, how did they get home? Because the same people that were watching them, 9 times out of 10 were the ones got out of the way, and then there were some that lingered and probably led them home. Because if you're blind, you don't know where to go. Once again, we have to be careful of where we tread. We have to be careful of where we go. Are you following me?
Yes.
Then the men said to Lot, have you anyone else here? A son-in-law, your sons, your daughters, and whoever you have in the city, take them out of this place. Now he's telling them, get them out of this place. Now you have to understand, the question is, why did Lot stay there for so long?
Right.
Why did he stay there so long? He even had an issue there. Why would you stay there so long? And why would you marry somebody in that place? Are you following me?
Yes.
Why would you marry someone in that place? That's what it says. For we will destroy this place because of the outcry against them has grown great before the face of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah has sent us to destroy it. Now, you have to understand the people that were in there were not the ones crying out against it.
Right.
It was the people that had experienced their terror, had experienced their abomination, had experienced their way of life.
Yes.
And they began to cry out about it because it was like, we can't go there. We want to do business, but we can't go there. It's like a person going somewhere and a person is being harassed, like sexual harassment. Every time you go, you can't just go by the vegetation. You got to be met with something that is always dealing with intimacy or sexuality. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Or dealing with something that's like, man, this is ridiculous. And here we are. And you have to understand where they were positioned. Many said they were on the opposite side or north of the Dead Sea. Excuse me. And so with that being said, you have to understand it was a very heavy traveled place.
Right.
Because they dealt with commerce, they dealt with different things. And so it's important that we understand why people were there. But the thing that is very interesting, once again, is that Lot was in this place and he stayed there.
Right.
He stayed there. He even built a family there. He built a family there. But the outcry of the people that were around it said, look, this is too much. And we need some vindication. We need some things to be dealt with. And so the Malak tell him, Get your people out of there. Verse 14, so Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-law who had married his daughters and said, get up, get out of this place, for Yahuwah will destroy this city. But to his son-in-laws, he seemed to be joking. Now, once again, if he had two daughters that were in there that had not known a man, what daughters had married these men? Are you following me?
Yes.
That meant that Lot had more than two children.
Right.
But they had become so ingrained and a part of this way of life that they didn't want to leave it. They wanted to stay there, and they wanted to be full participants of it. As I said before, just because a person does not physically engage in it, but yet want to be there, you're still just as guilty as a person that physically engages in it because you know what's going on and you like being there. The people are quiet, they don't bother you. I'm sure they don't bother you because you ain't what they want.
Right.
Are you following me? They don't bother you, but let me tell you something, they do. Once again, I try to use analogies. We lived in the projects, and it was the worst choice we had ever made in our life. But at the time, we didn't know. And when we had told his brother, he said, y'all moving where? He said, I wish y'all had told me. He said, bro, I'd have helped you do whatever you needed to do to keep them going over there. He said, I'm telling you, that place is a place you never want to go. I understand. Those people stole us blind.
Yes, they did.
They took everything from food out of our house to everything that we had of value. Till we had nothing of value for them to come and take, and they were done. Everything. They would come through the back window. We jimmied the window. They got so bold, they came through the front door and took our TV out, and the people saw them doing it. But you got to remember, you are a stranger when you move into an area like that.
Yeah. Right.
And people been there for 20 and 30 years. They mama and they mama's mama didn't lived in there. You start thinking, you don't want to live nowhere better? That was just a stopping place for us that we had run into some very, very hard times. But in our times of being there, they stole everything.
Yep.
And then made a mockery of it. Stole our food. We had something like $200 worth of food. Went in our cabinets. And you know, when a person goes and steals out your freezer, out your refrigerator, and then go and clean out your cabinets, everything. Took it out of there. And this time we was eating pork chops, y'all. We was eating pork. We had pork chops. I'm talking about the center cut pork chops. I'm talking about the fatty ones. I'm talking about the ones they call the porterhouse ones. We had those. We had steak. We had chicken. We had so much stuff in there, it wasn't funny. In our cabinets, we had food in there. Then I had a big jar that I would buy. I had like candy and little different things. So when my boys would come home from school and they would do well, they would always do well in school, I would give them something, out of the candy jar. He even took the candy jar. And the police said, now that's a shame. He said, they gonna take even a candy jar, but a thief is a thief.
Yes.
And they don't care what they take. And so it's like that. I can look at it being like that. They go in and their whole thing is if they can't change you to be like they are, then they will torment you and they will torment you. And they will constantly come around and basically make you their target because they know you ain't gonna change. They'll try to bully you into becoming what you're not. And for the people that couldn't change, the people that couldn't deal with it, they end up changing and becoming just like them. We've seen it happen. So once again, you gotta understand, you can't stay in a place like this. Somebody says, well, what does that mean for me? You gotta understand something. When you come into truth, many times we got it to where, it took me years to get what I have. But when you come into truth and you know that where you are is not conducive, it's not healthy, it is not a place that you can grow and a place that you can progress, right. You need to start seeking out Yahuwah for a better venue. Yes. Right. For a better place. That's right. A place that's going to be more productive and be a place that's going to be healthier for you. Right. And healthier for what is yours. Many people can't, don't want that. I can't afford to move. Then you got to look at, can you afford to stay? Mm-hmm. Can you afford to stay? Everybody will have about what they can't afford to do, but can you afford to stay in that place? People say, but I haven't changed. Have you? Right. You haven't? Are you sure? No, I haven't changed. Okay. See, that there are times we can't see the changes that are impressed upon us, but other people can. Are you following me? Yes. Because people can be bougie, people could be ghetto fabulous. Are you hearing me? Gucci. You could be all of those. And people think, well, I'm not that. But it takes a person, and it takes you looking in the mirror, the Torah, to truly see what type of person you are. We have to see what type of people we are by looking into his instructions. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand these things. Now, he went out and they looked at him and they said he was joking. You know why they said he was joking? Because they looked, we don't see anything wrong. Of course you wouldn't. Because you like what's going on. You like seeing people being tortured and tormented. You like seeing people poor. You like seeing people come in and have to sell themselves in order to get ahead.
Right.
You like to see men become men prostitutes, homosexuals. You like to see this. You're not indulging in it, but you like seeing it. Why? Because it makes you feel powerful and strong.
Right.
Mentality. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Somebody says, but how does that work with me? Anytime a person, a Hobbes, seeing another person helpless and weak, you have a problem. You have a problem with authority, and you have a problem with wanting people to be subservient to you.
That's right.
Because you ought to never want somebody to ever be to a point where they have to completely, totally rely on you.
Right.
Because now you have handicapped that person to where if something happens to you, their lives are no more valuable.
That's right.
Because they depend solely on you. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
That is dangerous. Very dangerous. And you have to understand something. I have my ish to life. But I also understand I got to do things too. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Because if something happens and he needs my help, and I'm so dependent on him, I can't help him. Because I've become so dependent upon him that I'm looking at him, but he can't help me because he's in a position that he needs my help.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And with situations like that, that's dangerous for both people. And if you have a mishpuko, that's dangerous for the whole mishpuko. Because now everybody has to start fending for themselves.
That's right. That's right.
Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Very important that we are able to do. Yahuwah has given us, once again, I told you, the more you plug in and the greater your relationship with him, the more he will show you and give you what you need. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Opportunities. And he'll show you who you are. He'll show you the gifts, and he'll show you the things that you are able to use to help to create wealth and to create certain things. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very important. All right. Verse 15. When the morning dawned, the Malak urged Lot to hurry, saying, arise, take your Isha and your two daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. They were the ones in the home. He went and he told those that were outside. They wouldn't listen. They would not listen. And when people don't listen, there's nothing you can do.
That's
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
There is nothing you can do. You can't stay and weary yourself trying to drag people in. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Now, he tells him to get up, verse 15. Hasten, so that Sodom's destruction might take place at sunrise. The sun being the chief deity, this is what is being said. Thus, its impotence to save its worshipers would be demonstrated. In other words, they worship the sun. And so the way Yahuwah does things, and I won't say all the time, but when he does a thing, especially when it is another deity involved, he puts it right back in their faces. Okay, I'm going to do it at this time, and let's see what your power does.
Right.
Let's see what your deity does. Let's see if it's going to bring you out. And so he does it at this time, but he's telling y'all got to hurry up and get out. You got to get out and you got to go now. That are here in the house, ready to be saved. They were the ones there. Now you have to understand, I've come to understand this, everybody in the house does not always have the same heart.
Right.
Especially depending on how long a person has been in that state, been in that situation. It depends on where their heart is. Because everybody does not want to be delivered out of the situation they're in. Why? Because they don't believe they need to be delivered. And one thing that is very hard is trying to convince a person they need deliverance when they don't see it themselves.
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with me. Like I said, ain't nothing wrong with this place. I have it. And I don't see no problem. I mean, then they make excuses. Well, they brought it on themselves. You know, if they didn't like it, they didn't have to stay. You got 50 people bum rushing you. What are you going to do? Are y'all following me?
Yes.
This is important that we look at this in this manner. You're hearing me. Now, he says in verse 16, he's telling them, and while he lingered, the men took hold of his hand, his wife's hand, and the hands of his two daughters, Yahuwah being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. Now, listen what it said. It said the reason why he lingered to save his wealth. The men, one was Yahuwah's messenger to save him, and the other had the mission to destroy the city. Lay hold, in his terror he grew weak and could not flee. It means they forcibly sped them on, and cities sped them, they forcibly sped them on, and sites, were the same verbs in Exodus 13 or 12 and 33, where the same verb is used. Yahuwah being merciful unto him. Although he was to be saved for Abraham's sake through his lingering, he might have forfeited this privilege, but for Yahuwah's mercy, not for his own merit, but through divine mercy, or the Malach sought to speed him while Yahuwah was still merciful, lest his wrath go forth and he be consumed. So he was basically lingering. He was waiting around, and they told him, we told you, you have to be out at a certain time. And he, you know how when sometimes you tell people to do something, and you say, look, in 10 minutes we got to go, and it reached that 11 minutes after, and you start thinking, I told you we got to go. Then it reached that 12. It's like, no, I'm going to grab you, and I'm going to drag you out of here, whether you have what you need or not. And once again, you got to understand, he was tied to that city as well.
That's right.
He was tied to that city. And that is why he didn't want to leave. But the Malach had to grab him, and they had to pull him out. One, I could believe that the reason why is because here his Isha is probably scuttling around too. Because she don't want to leave. Because she's looking at, this is my home, this is my place. Why do I want to leave? And I don't see what's being done so bad. You have to understand, people cannot see the forest for the trees. As long as you're in the forest, you will never see how many trees there are.
Right.
But the moment you leave the forest, you can really begin to see, man, that's a lot of trees. You ain't going to just run through there. You look at, man, I can run zigzag and boop, there you go. A root gets you or a stone gets you or a tree jump out of nowhere and knock you out. So we're seeing this, but he lingered. Are you hearing me? And he grabbed them and he forcefully pulls them out. Now, once again, you have to understand the mercy of Abba Yahuwah. He already won. This is for us as a people to look at. If he's already told us to do something, don't make him force you to do what he's already told you to do.
Right. That's right.
Because we end up losing more by being forced out instead of leaving out at the time, because now you got time to plan and get your stuff. If you're forced out, you end up losing because now you don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Very important. If he gives us a decree, if he gives us something, do not wait till the last minute to try to make it happen.
That's right. That's right.
Because if he has to force you out, that means you're going to lose everything. Y'all know we watch the movies. I don't watch the movies. Look in the writings.
Mm-hmm.
The writings are the best example that we have.
That's right.
Waiting and lingering. When Yahuwah said, go, go, go. You can't do that, because if you do, you're going to pay the price for it.
That's right.
And you have people that sit and wait. When he says get up and move, he means get up and move.
Yes.
Move.
That's right.
Prepare. We tell people, and I've said it and I'll continue to say it. Y'all, we hear and we've heard not so much on the news, but you've heard it by way of media. Yes, I know sometimes we as a people, we can be a little rough.
Right.
Are you hearing me? We can be a little unorthodox when we're trying to convey a message. It doesn't matter how rough the message is. Listen to it before you begin to judge it.
That's right.
Y'all better prepare. Now, I know I saw one message and the brother laughing and said, if y'all don't prepare, y'all niggas gonna be stuck. That's a little crude and a little rough. But besides all the rest of that, what he's saying, he's making a point. Y'all prepare. Don't wait till the last minute when now you're in line and there's 1 million people in line and ain't nothing to get. Are you following me?
Yes.
We had to go pick up some stuff during the holidays, which we don't celebrate the holidays. So let me make sure y'all understand. We don't celebrate Christmas. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving. We don't celebrate none of the hellish days. Do you hear me?
Yes.
But we had to go pick up some things, and we went to the $5 store. Y'all, when we went in that store, everything had been picked over. Everything had been, what had not been damaged and open was destroyed. You see the line going all the way to the bathroom, and people still coming in. That's what it's going to be like when people catch wind. We need to prepare. This is why we need to prepare now.
Right.
Many people say, well, Yahuwah is going to take care of us. Yes, he is. He has always taken care of us.
Right.
That's right.
He's going to take care of his people. But you have to understand, he's also given us a responsibility.
Yes.
And that is to heed the warnings and to take care of ourselves.
Right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
When you wake up every Yom, you do what? You put your own clothes on. Does he put your clothes on for you? No. He doesn't. Are you hearing me? Does he remind you every morning or every Yom to put your clothes on? No. We know it's a part of our reasonable service. It's a part of our moral duty.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
So, with that being said, isn't it also reasonable to believe that when these things come about, that we need to prepare? Did he not tell the children of Yasharal to prepare to make victuals because they were getting ready to cross over? Did he not tell them that in Yahushua son of Nun? Did he not tell them that?
Yes.
I believe it's in chapter 3. Did he not also tell them when it was time for, when they were mitzvahim and they were getting ready to leave, did he not tell them to prepare?
Yes.
They had to eat along the way. It is important that we do not get this thing misconstrued and say because we are preparing for what could be the worst thing that we're not walking in belief. Now they've said it and they are pushing to try to get Trump to put an alert out there for everybody to prepare for a blackout. It has not been made publicly in the sense that they have not put it on nationwide TV for everybody to know, but we do know they are echoing it and they are talking about it. And so when you hear it and you catch rumor of it, what is wrong with being safe? It's better to be safe than to be sorry.
Right.
That's right.
And now you got to go and you got to be asking people for help because you wanted to be the grasshopper and not the ant.
Right.
The grasshoppers didn't prepare, but the ants are always prepared.
That's right.
And so it's important that we prepare. Why am I saying this? It is important that we understand the time that we're in. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Trials and tribulations are going to come. But woe to the one that it catches you unaware or unprepared.
Yes.
It's important that we prepare.
That's right.
So with that being said, prepare. Don't make Yahuwah force you out. And now you out there, and now you have to try to find somebody to help you. And I'm telling you now, with the mentality of a lot of people not going to want to help you when you have the opportunity to prepare. It's one thing when you don't have, but at least you're making an effort.
That's right.
I don't have a lot. I can't do a lot. You may not, but once again, his mercy endures for generations.
That's right. That's right.
He will give us what we need to prepare. Dollar Tree. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. Dollar Tree, you can go and buy a lot of stuff from the Dollar Tree for $1.
Right.
Batteries, the only thing with their batteries don't last as long, so you have to make sure you have a bunch of them. You want great batteries. I believe Duracell is the best battery. Very expensive, but the best batteries to try to get are the rechargeable batteries.
Yes.
Solar lights are very important. Water, seeds. You need to have these things. Are you following me?
Yes.
You get what you are able to get, what you can afford. That's what you get, and you get it in increments. And you ask for the mercy of Abba Yahuwah. And you continue to move on. But you got to make the effort. Because at least making the effort, people will be more apt to help you.
That's right.
But if somebody go and look and you don't have nothing in your cupboards, well, I thought they was just lying. When you get that cutoff notice, you know they ain't lying and they ain't punking you. when they send that pink slip, you know they ain't punking you and lying, right?
Right.
That means you got till the day or till 5 o'clock the next day to get that payment in, or they're gonna what? Cut your stuff off.
Mhm.
We scramble to get money to do what we have to do, but we make it happen.
That's right.
And it's the truth. Been there, done that. So I'm saying, let's not let it get to that point.
That's right.
Let's prepare now while we have the chance. And you can go in the store and you grab as much as you need while you can. And ain't nobody fighting you. You ain't got to be having somebody watch over your buggy to make sure nobody steal what's in your buggy out of your buggy.
Right.
It's true. Because it will be, that's what people will do. And it is so.
And it is so.
Excuse me. Looking at verse 17. Escape for thy life. Is it enough that you save your life? Do not try to save your wealth also. He's telling them, let it go. Because Yahuwah is able to give back to you what you're going to, what basically you can't take with you. Some stuff you just can't take. We're looking at downsizing. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Downsizing stuff, getting rid of stuff that we just can't, you can't take with you. It's just some stuff you have to let go. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
In verse 18, then Lot said unto them, oh no, not so, my Adon Yah. Verse 18. Master Yahuwah is present here to destroy and bring down fire from Shemayim. From Abba Yahuwah, Lot knows this, and wants to prevent his own death in the cities he is escaping to. And so now he acknowledges, I can't do this. Let me go ahead and make this move. And are you hearing me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. There's some things, like I say, that we have to let go. I'm not talking about heirlooms, and I'm not talking about things that are valuable.
That's right.
You know, some stuff. I'm not a pack rat, but there's some things that I keep because I'm like, oh, I can fix this. Don't even try that. I'm not a pack rat, but there are some things. I have books, and you have to go through them books, and you have to look because some books are reference material. I know I'm not in Christianity, but some books I want for reference material. But I'm getting new books, so you got to make room for the new. So you have to get rid of the old.
That's right.
Not only books, we have different things that we want, like clothes and stuff that we keep because we said if we run into somebody that may need them, we can give to them. But then trying to do that and we don't have the way to house it, then you have to make the decision: do I keep it or do I get rid of it? So once again, there are a lot of things that we have to look at, but we are making choices to now be able to deal with it now and not when things get to a place where now we're racing and trying to hurry and get it done, and now we're looking at, do we leave this or do we take it?
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important. All right, let's read. Verse 19, please. Let's do 8.
Verse 19. Look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have increased your kindness which you have shown me by saving my life. But I am unable to escape to the mountains, lest calamity overtake me and I die. Look, please, the city is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there. Is it not a small matter, and let my life be saved? And he said to him, look, I have favored you concerning this matter, also without overthrowing the city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I am not able to do any deed until you arrive there. So the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. And Yahuwah rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahuwah out of the Shemayim. So he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, and were rude on the ground. But his issue looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. And Abraham arose early in the great rising, on the early dawn, and went to the place where he had stood before Yahuwah.
Mhm.
Verse 28. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain. And he looked and saw the smoke of the land, which went up like the smoke of a furnace. And it is so.
And it is so. You can imagine how that looked to him, waking up and over, you see the sun coming up and you see all this taking place. I'm sure he probably could, because of the terror, you probably could hear the screams of the people, the cries of the people, because of everything that had taken place. Once again, it's important that when Yahuwah says a thing, that we believe what he is saying.
That's right.
Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Now, as they were told to be quick and go look not behind you. You have sinned as much as they, and therefore it is not fitting that you should look upon their punishment. And he's talking to Lot now.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant Lot was not the innocent person here. Lot had done some things, and so he was spared because of Abraham's prayer, and because Yahuwah was willing to spare him, and his offspring that will come. Now look, it says, because it will increase your grief for the sons-in-law whom you have left in the city. For this would cause delay. It was also undesirable that he should look upon the Malak performing their task. The mere sight of destroying agencies would have had a most harmful effect upon him, and even thinking about them would be dangerous. The plain of Jordan. Escape to the mountains where Abraham was dwelling. When he said, my power. The rabbis construe this as Yahuwah. Lest the evil overtake me and I die. When I dwelt among the Sodomites, I was righteous by comparison with them and deserved to be saved. But if I go to Abraham, I reveal my wickedness and will then deserve to die. Verse 20, the breakdown of verse 20, near. This town has been inhabited only a near time, that is recently, and so its measure, for destruction cannot be yet full. Now he's looking for places to go to that are not ready to be destroyed by Yahuwah, because you have to understand, what was he thinking about getting into? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Like I said, you ever want to see what's in a person's heart, take them out their environment and you'll see. You'll be able to see. It is a little one. Its sins are yet but few, so it may be spared. Its inhabitants are but few, so it can be left alone, since there cannot be many sinners in it. This is a literal interpretation. Verse 21, concerning this thing, not only have you saved your own life, but the inhabitants of this town will also be spared. Verse 22, for I cannot do anything. Thus were the Malak punished for saying, for we will destroy this place, implying that it depended upon them. They were now forced to admit now this is what they say, powerlessness. We're going to look at verse 22. Their powerlessness. Let's look at verse 22. Hurry, escape, therefore, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zor. Now, once again, we have to look at this, and this is what the interpreters basically interpret this as meaning, where he's telling him, hurry up, because remember now, they had a deadline.
Right.
And Lot had not gotten out of the city by the time of the deadline. So he ended up having to basically give him time. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
We don't see where it says they were punished, but many of the rabbis said that they were punished. Once again, he says, hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zor. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zor. Then Yahuwah rained brimstone and fire on Sidon and Gomorrah from Yahuwah out of the Shemayim. So once again, you have to understand, it was the timing was supposed to be exact, impeccable. Abraham rising, and as he's rising, he's seeing the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And also them rising to see that what they worship, but not coming to help them. And that was the sun. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
That was the sun, and it did not come to their rescue. Now, in verse 25, so he overthrew those cities, all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities that and what grew on the ground. Everything. Because you got to remember, in that area, this place was contaminated. This place was fit for nothing to be destroyed. Are y'all following?
Yes.
Then Yahuwah caused it to rain from Yahuwah. The first phrase means Yahuwah and his celestial court of justice. The second refers likewise to Yahuwah, it being common for the noun to be repeated when a pronoun would have sufficed, or for one to speak of himself in the third person instead of using the first person. This interpretation combines conflicting views of the rabbis, meaning who basically said when the destruction came about. The first, when it refers to Yahuwah or to the Malach, Gabriel, and the second to Yahuwah, it means Yahuwah and his court, and Yahuwah alone is intended in both phrases. So they're basically saying that it was Yahuwah. Then there are some that say that the Malach did it.
Yes.
All right. Now, the second is that the opinion that the scriptures emphasizes that it was from Yahuwah to make it clear that it was not a natural phenomenon. In other words, this was not some fluke. This was deliberate, and this is what Yahuwah had caused or brought about. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
Caused to rain, brimstone and fire. It first descended as rain and was then turned to brimstone and fire. As you recall in the creation story, during the time of the flood, when it began to rain, many people believe that this is also what took place, that the rain fell, but it also began to turn into fire. And the water began to get hot and it burnt the people alive. And that's why when they came out, there was no, reason why the bones could not be found of the people was because they were destroyed. That is one theory, is that they burn up. The boiling water burnt them to nothing. So when they came out of the ark, there was no bodies found. No bodies of anything because they had been burnt up. And so that's kind of one of the theories. And it is so. All right. Verse 25. He overthrew those cities. They were all built on the same rock which he overturned. Behind him, that is, Lot was in the rear. A pillar of salt. She had sinned through salt and was punished through salt. When Lot asked her for a little salt for their guests, she replied, "Do you wish to introduce this evil custom of hospitality here too?" Her bones were burnt and she was encrusted with salt, which descended with the brimstone. Now, once again, this is something that they have read in other places. All we know from what we have read is that she turned around and looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt because she was not willing to let go of what was there. Because mind you, these were her daughters, her son-in-law, and then her lifestyle was there. So with that being said, what the writings tell us is she did what she wasn't supposed to do, and that was look back.
Right.
And that's why she was punished.
Yes.
And it is so.
It is so.
To the place where he had stood before Yahuwah. That is the place where he had accompanied the Malach. Having failed to find anything more to say in their esteem, he now came to plead for mercy for them. Verse 27. All right, verse 28 tells us, looked out to see whether 10 righteous men had been found there and the city spared. So it was him going out to see. And when he saw the city being destroyed, that lets you know what nobody there righteous but Lot. And even Lot was still what you would say righteous, just like with Noah. Noah was what righteous, but Noah still had his flaws. And you can look at Lot as being the same way. He was there and he indulged in things, but the things he did were not as bad as them. Now, with that being said, for us as a people, can we still walk in that mindset and say, well, they sinned, but my sin is not as bad as theirs? Absolutely not. Never, ever, ever should we ever say, well, what they're doing is, what I'm doing ain't as bad as what they're doing.
Right.
Never compare your sin with somebody else, because truthfully, you're not supposed to be sinning. Sin is sin. And we're supposed to be clear and we're supposed to be upright before Abba Yahuwah. And you can't do that if you are walking in error.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
You can't do that. In other words, well, they still on their taxes, but yet you still too. So you try to compare. Well, they do this, but I don't do that. I might do a little bit of this where you're still wrong. Two wrongs don't make it right. So we have to make sure that we are following the instructions right and not trying to compare whose sin is worse than the other. It's all the same. Sin is sin, and anything that goes against Abba Yahuwah and against his instructions is sin. And it all will be punished or judged in the same manner. Are you following me?
Yes.
Judgment. All right. Verse 29. Let's start at 29, please. Mhm. Let's read it.
Verse 19 reads. Verse 28 reads.
29.
29.
Mhm.
So when Yahuwah destroyed the cities, the plain he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived.
Mhm.
Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. And he and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day the older daughter said to the younger daughter, "Our father is old, and there is no man around here to lie with us. As it is the custom all over the earth, let's get our father to drink wine and then lie with him and preserve our family line through our Abba." That night they got their Abba to drink wine. The older daughter went and lay with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I lay with my Abba. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go in and lie with him, so we can preserve our family line through our Abba." So they got their Abba to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went and lay with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their Abba. The older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab. He is the Abba of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and named him Ben-Ami. He is the Abba of the Ammonites of today.
Mhm.
Chapter 2.
Mhm.
Now Abraham moved on from there into the region of Negev, and lived in between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar. And Abraham said of his Isha, Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent Sarah and took her. And it is so.
All right. Now, as we look at this, there's some things that transpire in this. As we look at verse 29, Yahuwah remembered Abraham. He remembered in Lot's esteem that he had kept silent when Abraham told Pharaoh that Sarah was his sister. For that reason, he was saved. He remembered that it was only due to Abraham that Lot was in Sodom, for he had not followed Abraham, he would still have been in Haran. For this reason, Yahuwah saved him, because it would not have been fitting that Lot should die on account of his association with Abraham. Now, once again, these are theories. We know that Yahuwah is merciful, and we believe that because Abraham asked for his life to be spared, and I believe that this could be a part, but it's just a theory. Are you hearing me? We know that Abraham prayed that the city would be spared if there were righteous people in it, but we also know that he prayed that his family would come out of it. So it wasn't just for him, but it was also for them that were in that place, wanting never to see anybody perish, but that people be spared. Now we look at Lot, and we start seeing some things here. Now he went to Zoar, and Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains. Now you have to understand something. They gave him permission to go to Zoar. Wisdom asked the question, why would you leave from a place where there are people? Okay, you follow me? Why would you leave from a place where there are people to go to where there are no people? Now listen, this is what the commentary says, and this is what another one says. The city of Zoar was also wicked, so Lot was afraid that the judgment would also destroy the city. Josephus, the historian, tells us that he hid in the caves of Engadi in and around the mountains of Yasharal near the Dead Sea. This is likely to be the same place where King Dawood hid from King Shaul. Now, that's one, and we look at that and as such. Now we see the same thing over here. He feared to dwell in Zoar because it was near to Sidon. He knew that it had been decreed that Zoar too was to be destroyed and had been spared only because he could not reach the mountain in time. Now that there was time for him to go on, he naturally feared that the decree would be fulfilled. Now, once again, we could come and assume many things, but this is a place where people are occupying. It is a place where you can rebuild. Are you following me?
Yes.
But he takes and goes to the mountains where there's nobody. Now, according to the commentators or the historians, when they began to say, "Our father is old," so they're saying, "Well, we don't know when he gonna die or cease to beget," but because watch this, every place in the world has been destroyed. So there are no more men. There are no more men that we can be wives to or issues to. Why? Because when you take from a place where life is, now you don't have to become a part of that lifestyle, but you know life is there. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
But you go to a cave, a place where it's only you and your two daughters. Then you get there and you stay blitzed all the time. Something is wrong with that picture.
Right, right.
Because you have to understand, when a man or a woman is drunk, that's when you lose your ability to respond to stuff. My mom always used to say, a sober man's heart is a drunk man's mind. So if that sober man's heart is to do what he's going to do, when he gets drunk, it's still in his mind to do so.
Right.
This is why people can become brazen, because it's already in their heart to do before they get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
But they use the alcohol, the spirits, to say, the alcohol made me do it. No, it was in your heart to do all along.
That's right.
You just use that as a mean. This had to be in his heart, because here it is. You have two daughters and you're getting drunk and they're sleeping with you. Now, if you understand the problem with that, he was not too drunk to where he couldn't perform. Now, understand what I'm saying with this. Not being graphic, but understand, when a man is completely inebriated, even a woman, it's easier for a man to take advantage of a woman when she is drunk than it is for a man to be taken advantage of, unless you give him something that will cause him to be aroused. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So here it is. They are taking advantage of him because he's drunk, but he's not that drunk to where he can't perform. Because there had to be an exchange in order for pregnancy to take place.
Right, right.
So he wasn't that drunk, but he was blitz enough, in other words, to act like he didn't know. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
In other words, you have to understand, when you are taking out of a place, also make sure that place is taken out of you.
That's right.
Make sure that what you are taking from is taken out of you. As I said in the early part, you cannot live in truth and still act like you are a Christian. Wear the seats, wear the hair covering, where the men wear the beards, you wear the long hair. Women, we wear our hair covered when we can, and so forth and so on. Even if you wear your hair out, you wear the dresses, whatever you wear. But if you still have the mentality of Christianity or that worldly mentality, right, no matter where you plant your feet, it's going to reveal itself eventually.
That's right.
And this is what happened. He got into a place because he was afraid. I would be inclined to believe until it got to that point and they said, go there, then you remain there because at least life is there. His daughters believed that every place had been destroyed.
Right.
Because they looking out, we don't see nobody. You don't get visitors going to a cave. You can't show hospitality to a people and you are in a cave. Nice. So it's important that we understand these things. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important that we understand. Once again, get out of you where you were taken from. It's important, and it goes along with this too. And I say this especially with relationships. When you are ready to be one, you got to get that mentality out of you that I'm single.
That's right.
You know, we ain't living single and married. We're married. Are you following me?
Yes.
And when you are married, you can't have the mindset, this is mine, mine, mine. Now, there are some things, let me make sure I clarify this. There are some things that are designated for you. That's designated for him. There are some things that are designated for me. Are you following me?
Yes.
And when you understand that, it is not that you are being selfish. You understand, okay, I don't wear your clothes, you don't wear my clothes.
Right.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
We designate these things, but we also understand that we are one and no longer two. So that means if I hurt him, I hurt myself. If he hurts me, he hurts himself.
Right.
Watch this. If I hurt myself, not only do I hurt myself, but I also hurt him.
Right.
And vice versa.
Right.
So it's important that we understand that in a relationship, there has to be an understanding we're no longer single.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
That's very important that we understand. When we're walking in truth, we have to understand we're no longer walking outside of truth.
That's right.
We're in truth. We don't do like the Masonic, the Masons do. I need to be brought to the light. Isn't that somehow they talk about that old nonsense?
Yes.
If you're already in the light and walking in truth, you have no business being a part of that. Because that's not light, that's darkness.
Right.
So it is important that we understand that when you come into the light, you have to act like you're in the light. You have to walk like you're in the light. You have to breathe like you're in the light.
Right.
You're not drowning. You're not suffocating. You're not dying. We're living. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And so here it is. He chose to live a life. Now you have to understand, a person that lives like that is giving up on life. Because you say we don't know when he's going to die. That means that he was not giving them a reason to look for anything better.
Right.
And when hope is lost, this is what people do. Now, I'll show you that this is how our people carry themselves. When you find a man or a woman that has lost hope, one or two things, they're going to either be on drugs or they're going to be alcoholics. Because that's what they turn to. Why? Because it's like a buffer. It is like a medicine that keeps them from dealing with reality. So if you stay drunk all the time, you don't have to deal with the real pressures and issues of life. You don't have to face that. And because this was his attitude, it shows us that he had given up on life. Mind you, that he had lost his wife and he had lost his other two daughters and his son-in-laws. Then he lost everything that he had. And instead of him going to Yahuwah, now I'm in this place, now what is my next step? What's my next move? He takes his self and he begins to invest his life in the spirits and alcohol. And he begins to live this life. That's all it is. I'll just drink. You got two daughters, you still need to train and you need to teach. But he wasn't thinking along those lines. He was only thinking of himself. And they took advantage of that. Because you got to understand, that way of life they came out of was still in them. I don't care how crazy things get. I don't care how stuff becomes. You should never, ever desire your parents. And vice versa.
That's right.
I don't care if nobody else is on the face of the earth. That is a sin, and it is against Abba Yahuwah. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
But he took away the hope that they had because they said, everybody dead. Why? Because when he left Zor, he left them no hope. They didn't have to marry the men there, but at least they could have seen some men and seen some life, which would have given them hope. Okay, there are other people here. Okay. All right. It's just like settling. You don't have to settle.
That's right.
There are people out there. Are you following me? You may not see them all the time, but there are people in truth.
That's right.
And may not come across them all the time, but you will. We got to believe Yahuwah. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Very important to understand. He took their hope because he had no hope. He had no hope. And let me tell you something. Hopelessness is contagious.
That's right.
Yes.
It's contagious. When you find a people or a person that's hopeless, it's contagious. You have to understand, he knew right from wrong. And instead of seeking Yahuwah, basically he sought to give up on life. But his daughter thought of another way. And once again, it takes two to bring forth a child. And it doesn't say that they gave him anything. And if you know anything about alcohol, alcohol does not work in that manner. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's important that we understand the things that took place at that time. Once again, never take hope. Somebody will say, well, how do we take that for today? Don't steal a person's hope. Be that hope and help them maintain and hold on to that hope. It may not look like things are changing, it may not look like things are getting better, but you know right now it may look that way, but just because it looks that way doesn't mean it is that way.
Right.
Don't take a person's hope away.
That's right.
Always feed their hope. In other words, feed their belief so that they will continue to hope for better.
That's right.
Don't take that away. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And you can't take that away from a person when you don't have the interest and when you just do things mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
I have you. Bye-bye. No. That's a hope killer.
Right.
Because it's like you're just doing it out of duty.
Right.
No. Show me. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you how you can tell. If you've ever had plants or bought plants that were dead, one thing that stimulates a plant is talking and touching it. Touch and sound stimulates hope. You can bring a plant back to life just by talking to it and touching it.
That's right.
Now think about what we can do to each other.
That's right.
That's right.
When we speak the right things into each other's ruach, and when we touch each other in the right way. It's stimulating.
That's right.
It's stimulating. Why do you think when a baby is born not breathing, they don't whoop the baby, they constantly rub it. They're constantly rubbing it and talking to it and saying, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, breathe, come on, breathe. And they're rubbing it, stimulating it with words and with touch.
That's right.
That's the most powerful thing we have, words and touch.
That's right.
Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
It can work for us in a great way and it can work for us in a bad way. But let's use it in the way that he gave it to us, in the great way.
Yes.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, let's look at verse 32. That we may preserve our Abba. It may be that they considered it their duty, being under the impression that the destruction was universal and Yahuwah had saved them, that mankind might be rebuilt through them. They could have asked Lot to marry them since this was permitted at the time, but their modesty prevented them, or perhaps it was regarded with abhorrence. I mean, either way, it was wrong. And nowhere does it ever say in the Torah that an Abba had any right to marry his daughters, especially if they were his biological daughters.
Right.
Nowhere can we ever make that right. Wine, verse 33. This was miraculously provided for them in the cave so that 2 nations might issue from them. Once again, you have to understand, he was able to grow and do things. Now, mind you, he was in Zor, meaning that they had an opportunity to regroup and grab some things.
Right.
And I believe that he planted and he basically drew into himself. And this is why they looked at him and said, he can know, ain't nothing for us to do. You mean tell me, wine is going to miraculously appear, but I can't be shown that there's other people in another place. No. We're going to go. Lay with her, Abba. Of the younger, it is merely lay with him. The elder was the first to commit incest, and so her shame is explicitly stated. But the younger merely followed her example. Therefore, it is somewhat hidden. Either way, it was wrong. It was wrong. And once again, this is why it is not advisable and neither is it feasible for people to get drunk. Never. Now, you in your own home, and understand what I'm saying. I still wouldn't advise it, but you in your own home, and there's just you and nobody with you, and it's locked. If you want to get drunk and you safe, you in your own home. But when you are around people and you have, I would not advise that at all. I don't advise it at all, period. But I understand when people get home and they get, off of work, and sometimes they have a couple of glasses of wine or whatever it is they like to drink, brandy. Are you hearing me? Cavassier. You go down the and the vodka. You follow what I'm saying? You do these things in your home. So whatever happens in your home is in your home. But I still wouldn't advise it. Are you following me?
Yes.
You ought to never get to the point where you don't know where you are and you wake up the next morning. Because what if something happens? A fire breaks out.
Right.
Or you need to leave in a hurry. You too blitz. You can't do nothing. Right. You incapacitated. So it's important that we understand and use what? Discipline. Somebody say discipline.
Discipline.
Say it again. Discipline.
Discipline.
It's important that we use discipline, and it is so.
And it is
All right. Okay. We have about 9 minutes. All right. Let's read 10 verses in chapter 20. Let's read 10 verses.
But Yahuwah came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man.
Chapter 20. Where are you? Verse 1.
She read to 2.
Huh?
She read to 2. Verse 2 in chapter 20.
Chapter 20. Where you at? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You read, where did you read to? Verse 3. Okay, I'm sorry. Read. Okay, read. Start at verse 1 for me and read 10 verses. I'm sorry. Read it. I was looking above it.
And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said to Sarah, his Isha, She is my sister. And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But Yahuwah came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's Isha. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Yahuwah, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister? And she, even she herself, said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. And Yahuwah said unto him in the dream, Yea, I know that thou did this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his Isha, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou surely die, thou and all that are mine, all that are thine. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning, and called all his servants, and told all these things in their ears. And the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham, and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought unto me and on my kingdom a great sin, that thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not be done? And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. Abraham journeyed from thence, seeing that the cities were destroyed and there were no more wayfarers to whom he might give hospitality. He moved away. Another reason is that he wished to separate from Lot, who had become notorious through his association with his daughters. So there's two theories that after he had found out, because remember he went and dwelt in the mountains, that Abraham was in almost to the point where this is what your life is going to be like. I don't want any parts of it. So you see two theories there. Dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, between two large cities, to have the opportunity of making more converts to his belief. Once again, looking at the people. Verse 2, she is my sister. This time he did not ask her permission because she had previously been taken to Pharaoh's house through this deception, and he knew that she would not consent. Scripture does not relate here that Abimelech, servant saw and took her to the king's palace, as it does to the case of Pharaoh. They were in fact not so immoral here as in Mitzrayim, but Abraham suspected them, took Sarah. It is surprising that in her old age she was still so attractive that kings desired her. It may be that she regained her youth as it was supposedly said. So you have to understand it. Melanin don't crack at all. Are you hearing me? Melanin don't crack. And she was just gorgeous. And they looked at her, and then you have to understand there was a reason also. They wanted to take her. And Yahuwah came to Abimelech in verse 3, but did not plague him as he did Pharaoh, because in truth Abimelech was more upright, had not come near her. And a Malach prevented him, as it says, therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Wilt thou slay even a righteous nation? Is that thy practice? Then I must affirm that thou didst destroy also the generations of the flood, and dispersal without just cause. By using the word nation, he spoke of himself, his household, and his people. Thou destroyed a nation by putting its king to death. In other words, if you kill me, you're going to destroy this nation. So he also basically was telling him, the reason you didn't do is because I prevented you. In other words, I took it out of your heart. If I had not stopped you, you would have gone through with the act. And so he had to put it back in his face. What are you talking about? He said in verse 5, in the simplicity of my heart, I had no intention of sinning. The innocence of my hands, I am innocent of sin, for I have not touched her. I know that in the simplicity of thy heart, verse 6, true, you did not intend to sin, but there is no innocence of hands here. Yahuwah did not include this phrase in his reply. Suffered I thee not, so that was added into God. He didn't add all that. It was I who deprived you of the strength to touch her, but you did not voluntarily restrain yourself. So he's basically telling him, you didn't do it. You took her for a reason, but you could not fulfill it because I wouldn't allow you to. We better be grateful that we have a power that does help us when we can't help ourselves.
That's right.
When we just feel like we just don't have the strength to do it or whatever, he will step in and he will give us the strength to maintain and to do right. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Restore the man's Isha. Do not think that she will now be repulsive to her husband or her Ish, and he will refuse to accept her, or that he will hate her and refuse to pray for you. Abimelech asked, who will prove to him that I did not touch her? Yahuwah replied, he is a prophet and will accordingly have that knowledge. So there's a conversation there, so it won't be, well, now this is what happens, because you have in many places, like in certain places in Africa, that if a young woman or woman is raped, she's the one guilty, and she'll be hated and even killed, depending on how they judge the situation. It's not her fault, but she still will be looked upon and hated. And it's almost here the same thing is being said. Well, in other words, don't be afraid to give her back, because he's not going to hate her, or she's not going to be repulsive as if another man touched her. You're following me?
Yes.
So it's very important that be understood, especially knowing what has just been prophesied about Isaac coming into the picture real soon. So it had to be very careful of the things that were done. Verse 9, deeds that thou ought not to be done. Deeds that are not done. We have suffered in an unheard manner because of you. You have caused harm to people whom you have not known before, and with whom you have no quarrel. Such deeds are not done. In other words, he said, look, dude, you didn't have to come here with all that. Why you had to lie again? Why did you have to put this as the focus of you coming here? Well, they're going to take you. They're going to do this. Once again, you got to understand there's some things with Abraham and him and his logic, about keeping her safe. But at the same time, I'm sure he knew Yahuwah wasn't going to let anything happen to her. Surely, we're going to look at verse 11, and then we're going to pray. Surely the fear of Yahuwah is not in this place. When a man, they do not question him about his requirements in food and drink, but about the woman with him. Is she his Isha or sister? There was no fear of the ruling authority in that place, and so lawlessness prevailed. Oh, y'all hear me? Once again, very important of the beginnings of or the steps that are getting ready to be taken because of the change that is getting ready to take place in the life of Abraham and Sarah. It is very important that we look at all, I won't say all aspects, but that we look at everything that is presented to us according to what? The writings, according to what it says in Bereshit. Very important that we retain it. Once again, I take my time and I try to go verse by verse to break it down, give us a narrative and break it down so we can see what's in it. Anybody know when I used to eat ice cream sandwiches, my favorite part was the cookie on the ice cream sandwich. The ice cream is great, but that black cookie, now that's black, that black cookie on that ice cream sandwich, well, that's the best thing right there. But the thing of it is that you want to eat all of it, you know, whether you want to eat the ice cream out first or you want to take the cookie and eat it first, or you want to eat it together. You want the fullness of it because with the fullness of the flavor comes with the complete ice cream sandwich. So that's what my desire is, and that is what I intend to give you as he gives it to me. I pray at this time as we prepare to take our lunch break, that you take your lunch break as well and ruminate and let this what's been spoken germinate and take root in your heart and really begin to look at the very stages of their lives. And as you look at the stages of your life, also look at your stage. Where are you? Where is it that you are looking, or where is it that Abba Yahuwah is desiring to take you? Don't look at the circumstances around you, but look at where it is he desires to take you. And when you recognize where he desires to take you, then you can understand the circumstances and the situations that surround your life. Once again, they were constantly faced with all kinds of things, but they continue to persevere. Many times they came to points in their lives and were close because they're getting close to the promise being fulfilled. Is when the enemy rages and he rears his head up the most because he knows that time is right around the corner. So I say to you, don't give up. Continue to believe, continue to persevere in your belief, and continue to hope against hope and stand in and upon the Torah, because we can't go wrong. I want to say to you, I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries, this is the place where
The Torah does the body excellent.
Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Barukatah and keep you in his shalom until we return at 8 o'clock. Once again, be burdened. And it is so.